horizons broader, going on this adventure, searching for the reasons why. All I see is this flat water. With a telescope I can see farther, so curvature does not apply. Now that I'm awake and I can't turn back, I know space is fake and the earth is flat. Look inside your soul and you'll also know that it's not just me. There's a curve on the earth and to me it's surprising. Now I know Earth is not a globe. NASA and other space agencies always lying, but after all, Earth is not a globe. Oh, it's not a globe. Yeah. I know you think you're educated, but you're simply indoctrinated. They're trying to control your mind, teaching us things that can't be proven, like Big Bang and evolution, but we're actually all divine. My eyes are open wide, all my fear is gone. God is on my side, how could I go wrong? People seem so blind to what's going on. It's not hard to see. See the sun as it shines on the sea, local lighting, but they say it's so far away. Sometimes it just seems like they're not even trying. There'll come a day when people say there's a curve on the earth, and to me it's surprising. No, Earth is not a globe. NASA and other space agencies always lying, but after all, Earth is not a
Okay, so in the 1930s, we had both Auguste Piccard and the Russians sending up high-altitude balloons, and they're looking out, and they're not able to detect curvature. So we go forward about a decade to the 1940s, 1948. This is an official CIA, look up here, CIA.gov, okay, CIA declassified document from the Russians. I'm going to pull it up here in Adobe Acrobat. It's a little easier because I've already highlighted some stuff here. Same document. All right, so the subject is Earth measurements, 1948, Moscow, Russia. Outer gravitational field and shape of the physical surface of the Earth. They're trying to figure out the shape of the Earth? Wait a minute. I thought we knew the shape of the Earth since Pythagoras and Eratosthenes, right? Well, apparently the Russians didn't get the memo. A study is made of the coordinates necessary for the solvability and uniqueness of solution of an integral equation by the aid of which the outer gravitational field and the shape of the physical surface of the Earth may be determined. So we go through this document a little bit here. It says the methods of studying the shape of the Earth, so this is what their goal is here. They're outlining some of that. The shape of the physical surface of the Earth can be determined with sufficient reliability on the basis only of data obtained from exact measurements. Well, that goes without saying, I suppose. And let's keep going down here. Let's see. We can regard the potential of the real Earth, by this equation here apparently, as known correct to an additive constant, whatever that is, at all points of the physical surface of the Earth and only on the surface, whereas it is not determinable at all other points of space without knowledge of the shape of the Earth. So they're still trying to figure out the shape of the Earth here. But since the shape of the Earth is not known, the shape of the Earth is not known, 1948, the true coordinates of these points, B, L, and H, are unknown to us. So the Russians are having trouble figuring out the shape of the Earth in 1948. Let's look at another document here. Another declassified CIA document up here, right? They're checking out the firmament in this one. Let's go back to Acrobat. 1953 now. Geophysics light scattering, USSR. Trying to figure out how does light work in the atmosphere here. So we get down to page 19 here. It says dissertations defended in the Scientific Council of the Institute of Physics of the Earth, Institute of Physics of the Atmosphere, and Institute of Applied Geophysics, USSR, 1957. March 1957. Looks like March 23, 1957, apparently. The dissertation represents the result of many years of study of the clear daytime sky. The observations were carried out in 12 locations at various altitudes above the sea, various climatic, meteorological, and synoptic conditions. The observations were carried out mainly during high transparency of the atmosphere in the visual range of the spectrum in the absence of a snow cover. In the investigations, 2 instruments designed by V.G. Fezenkov were used. One of these was a visual photometer of the daytime sky intended for measuring the brightness of the firmament. Interesting. Trying to figure out the brightness of the firmament. Again, 1957. The dissertation contains a certain formula of the brightness of the sky, taking into consideration only the brightness of the first order, and derived, get this now, on the assumption of a flat Earth, and giving some conclusions derived on the basis of this formula. So the Russians are trying to check out the firmament based on assumptions of a flat Earth in 1957? Very interesting, huh? Alright, let's see what NASA has to say. Looking at this ntrs.nasa.gov document here, dated April 17th, 1961. Go back to Acrobat, looking at this document from 1961. And it says, a trajectory simulation incorporating the above requirements is represented in Figure 8. In addition to the above requirements, this simulation assumes a vehicle with 6 degrees of freedom and aerodynamic symmetry in roll, and the missile position in space is computed relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth. So they're checking out missile position in space computed relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth. Why would you do that? If the Earth is a rotating ball, 25,000 miles in circumference, why would you do your computations based on a non-rotating flat Earth? You're going to tell me that this simplifies the math? I mean, we are actually dealing with rocket scientists here, so math's not a problem for these people. All right, let's see what else we can find. That was April 1961. This is nasa.gov again, June 1971. So let's look at that one. June 1971. A method for reducing the sensitivity of optimal nonlinear systems to parameter uncertainty. Whatever that means. And we get down to about page 12 here. And it says, a numerical example problem statement. The example problem is a fixed time problem in which it is required to determine the thrust attitude program of a single stage rocket vehicle starting from rest and going to specified thermal conditions of altitude and vertical velocity, which will maximize the final horizontal velocity. The idealizing assumptions made are the following. Number 1, a point mass vehicle. Number 2, of the idealized assumptions that are being made for this example is a flat, non-rotating Earth. NASA making idealized assumptions based on a flat, non-rotating Earth? What's going on here? Let's continue. Here we have another nasa.gov document dated March 1972. March 1972, NASA Technical Memorandum determination of angles of attack and side slip from radar data, and a roll stabilized platform. Gotta love the titles, huh? Okay, abstract. Equations for angles of attack and side slip relative to both a rolling and non-rolling body access system are derived for a flight vehicle for which radar and gyroscopic attitude data are available. The method is limited, however, to application where a flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. All right, let's continue. That was 1972, the end of the, or right around the end of the Apollo program.
Number 10. All the other planets and stars we've ever seen are round, and there's no reason to indicate that the Earth should be any different.
Okay. That's a really lame proof. It's an interesting assumption. It's a reasonable assumption, but it's not a proof. It's like looking at a pool table and saying, wow, all the billiard balls are spherical. Well, that means the table must be too. Or looking up and seeing the lights overhead. Oh, the light bulbs are spherical, therefore the table must be too. No, that's not a proof of anything. It's a reasonable assumption, but it's definitely not a proof.
Really just put the nail in the coffin of the heliocentric model. I understand that you go through the stages of grief when you realize that you've been lied to. You're gonna feel angry, you're gonna bargain, you're gonna all this stuff. I understand. This is the absolute proof. And you never have to say another thing about it. And people get so mad. I get it. You're going through grief. You're mourning grief. Ready? What people forget is that it's not a circle around the sun. Even if it was a circle, it'd still be impossible. But it's an ellipse, which means that it changes speed. And unlike the evolution lie, where you can just keep adding billions of years, but the billions and billions of years, but it's 1 year. That's a fixed amount of time and a fixed amount of speed. The length of Earth's trajectory around the sun is 940 million kilometers. Thus, the Earth travels about 107,000 kilometers per hour. This means that our planet moves around the sun at an average speed of 30 kilometers per second, or Mach 88. 88 times the speed of sound. So let that sink in. Earth's speed, this is the kicker. Earth's speed is not constant as the Earth orbits elliptical orbit. You can break that down into any fraction you want. It's still one fixed year. When you're going 88 times the speed of sound and you have to change speeds, you would feel it. They'll get mad at me. They'll say, "You, sir, how dare you? I mean, it's so easy to understand. Even an idiot could. LOL. I mean, inertia and vortex, man, that's grief." And then they'll bargain. Well, it could be that. It just keep, and then depression. Well, what do we do now? I mean, my whole childhood. Just stop. It's not that big a deal. It's more beautiful that it isn't spinning endlessly around the sun. It's way better. So you can't do what they do in evolution. Say, well, in 20 billion years, a hurricane can just create a Ferrari. No, you can't just keep adding years. 1 year, one ellipse, change in speed. What do we do now? I mean, my whole childhood. Just stop. It's not that big a deal. It's more beautiful that it isn't spinning endlessly around the sun. It's way better. More beautiful that it isn't spinning endlessly around the sun. It's way better. More beautiful that it isn't spinning endlessly around the sun. It's way better. It's way better.
I was born and raised an orphan in a land that once was free, in a land that poured its love out on the moon. And I grew up in the shadows of your silos filled with grain, but you never helped fill my empty spoon. You kill a black man at midnight just for talking to your dog, and you make his wife your mistress, and you leave her without water, and the sheet you wear upon your face is the sheet your children sleep on. You say your prayer at every meal, you got far across the ocean in a war that's not our own. And while we're winning this, we're gonna lose the one at home. Do you really think the only way to bring about the peace is to sacrifice your children and kill all your enemies? The politicians all make speeches and the newsmen all take notes, and they exaggerate the issues as they shove it down our throats. Is it really up to them whether this country sinks or floats? Well, I wonder who would lead us if none of us would vote. And the money says in God we trust, but it's against the law to pray in school. You say we beat the Russians to the moon, and I say it's time for children to do it. We say all men are equal, all men are brothers. Then why are the rich more equal than us? Don't ask me for the answer, I've only got one. A man leaves his darkness when he follows the sun. When it follows the sun. Yeah. Follow the sun. Follow the sun. Gotta wake up, Mary. Gotta wake up and follow Jesus.
Well, let's go. The Bible says in 2 Peter chapter 3, knowing this first, there shall come in the last days scoffers. Did you know there are people that scoff at the Bible? I deal with them on a regular basis. I attract them like a lightning rod. The scoffers out there, they hate me. I'm trying to be nice to them, okay, but they just don't like me. They don't appreciate this. What a nice, wonderful guy I am. Okay, the scoffers, the Bible says, are going to be walking after their own lust. You know the reason people scoff at the Bible? It's not because of their science. They think it is, okay? But no, they scoff at the Bible because of their lust. They don't want God telling them what to do. That's the bottom line every single time. The scoffers are going to say, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. That's an important phrase. We'll cover that on video 4. Very important phrase right there. But the scoffers are going to say the way things are happening now is the way things have always been happening. Uniformitarianism. We don't have time to cover that now. We'll get to that on part 4. The Bible says the scoffers are willingly ignorant. Willingly ignorant. In the Greek, that means dumb on purpose. Okay? The scoffers are dumb on purpose of two things, and here they are. Number one, that by the word of God, the heavens were of old. Notice the word heaven is plural, heavens. There's more than one heaven. We'll talk about that in a minute. The scoffers are ignorant of how God made the heavens by his word, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. Now, there's a strange phrase. How can the earth be out of the water and in the water? But look, it says the heavens and the earth were made by his word. Did you know when God made the universe, he didn't lift one finger? He didn't turn one screw or pound one nail. He just spoke, and every molecule lined up. That's incredible to think about. When he speaks, the waves lay down, the wind quits blowing. When he speaks, the dead come to life. When he speaks, the universe is created. Everything obeys the voice of God, except us. He's having some trouble out of us right now, but he's going to fix that one of these days when every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father, coming soon to a city near you. But the scoffers are willingly ignorant of how God made the heavens by his word, and they're ignorant of how the earth was standing out of the water and in the water. In other words, they're ignorant of the original creation. What was it like? We'll talk about that in a second. The second thing they're ignorant of is the flood. It says the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. This world was destroyed by a flood, totally annihilated. The third thing they're ignorant of is the coming judgment. Next verse says, but the heavens and the earth which are now by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. See, the scoffers are ignorant of the creation. They don't want to admit God created the world because that would mean he owns it. They don't want to admit there was a flood because, that proves God has the authority to judge his creation. They don't like that idea. And they sure don't want to admit there's a coming judgment. I like that bumper sticker. It said, Jesus is coming, and boy, is he mad. That's the truth. Well, sadly, many Christians are also ignorant of what that original creation was like and what that flood did to this world. And so because of their ignorance of the creation and the flood, it causes Christians to compromise the clear teaching.
Whilst
From
in
Mark
space,
Cameron. This is from Mark Cameron.
whilst in space, have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, all
because
the
you can
time.
see,
Yeah,
because you can see the stars.
Oh yeah,
And pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
Yeah. It's not a
is a
black
cool thing.
void. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of little polka dots.
There's all the stars.
Oh, kind of
but
with
the
the
cool thing is
polka
you can see
dots.
it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets.
Planets?
You can see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds of the
You
Milky Way
see
galaxy.
the Magellanic Clouds.
Magellanic. See, I was.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, I
said
was gonna-
Magellan
I
clouds.
was-
didn't
I was
say
gonna
that.
say that one, boss.
And then you can see the zodiacal light.
Whoa.
Have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Yeah.
all
because
the
you can
time.
see.
Yeah,
because you
it's-
can see the stars.
You ever tried to talk to people about NASA? Huh. Like banging your head on a brick wall, right? Well, this song is all about that. Sometimes it's best just to keep your mouth shut, right? And don't talk about NASA at all. Listen up. When I started talking about NASA, I lost all my friends. So I don't want to talk about NASA ever again. My friends don't understand me, and I wish they would. I tried to tell them about NASA, but it don't do no good. No, I don't want to talk about NASA ever again. 'Cause every time I talk about NASA, I lose another one of my friends. Yeah, every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. No, I ain't gonna talk about NASA again. Well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can tell people about NASA, but you can't make them think. Well, they look at me, they roll their eyes, they shake their head, 'cause they believe the papers and the TV instead. No, I don't want to talk about NASA ever again. 'Cause every time I talk about NASA, I lose another one of my friends. Yeah, every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. No, I ain't gonna talk about NASA again. See, I just want my friends to know all of NASA's lies. I hope one day my friends wake up and they realize. But I feel like I'm banging my head on a wall every single time. If I just got me a bunch of new friends, then I'll be doing fine. No, I don't want to talk about NASA ever again. 'Cause every time I talk about NASA, I lose another one of my friends. Yeah, every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. No, I ain't gonna talk about NASA again. So I went down to the local bar to meet me a bunch of new friends. Well, I had myself just a couple of beers and started talking about NASA again. Well, things got kinda ugly, and I was punched to the floor. No, I ain't gonna talk about NASA no more. No, I don't wanna talk about NASA ever again. 'Cause every time I talk about NASA, I lose another one of my friends. Yeah, every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. No, I ain't gonna talk about NASA again. One more time, boys. No, I don't wanna talk about NASA, no, ever again. 'Cause every time I talk about NASA, I lose another one of my friends. Yeah, every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. No, I ain't gonna talk about NASA ever again.
In the age of social media censorship, questioning whether or not the Earth is a globe has been deemed harmful thought. But why is this? We seem to be conditioned to think that the issue has been scientifically settled. But this is not the case. Our most popular scientists recognize that the geocentric model, where the Earth is at the center of the universe, is observably accurate. Edwin Hubble and Stephen Hawking went as far as to say that they reject the geocentric model not based on scientific reasoning, but rather because they find the thought of being at the center of the universe to be emotionally disturbing. Physicist George Ellis stated that you cannot disprove the geocentric model, you can only exclude it on philosophical grounds. The Michelson-Morley experiment in the 1880s proved the Earth was stationary, and Albert Einstein claimed this was a serious embarrassment and intended to disprove it with his relativity theory, but later admitted that he had failed to do so. We are conditioned to think that the heliocentric model is scientifically superior to the geocentric model, but when we apply scientific reasoning, we discover that this is not true. contrary to popular thought, the scientific community has disputed the heliocentric model for centuries, such as the Earth's curvature. According to the heliocentric Earth model, the Earth is 24,000 miles in circumference, and if one were standing at sea level, they should only be able to see less than 3 miles before the surface of the Earth curves out of view. But this has been proven to be false for centuries, from the Bedford Level experiments of 1838 to modern photography. This photograph of Chicago was taken almost 60 miles away from Grand Mere State Park in Michigan. On a spherical Earth, this would be impossible. Using the Pythagorean theorem and the current dimensions of the Earth, the top of the tallest skyscraper should be 900 feet below the observable horizon. Local news explained this anomaly by claiming the image was a mirage.
And what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage.
They claimed that somehow light refraction and perfect weather conditions are responsible for creating a photorealistic mirage of the Chicago skyline appearing to sit on the flat horizon from almost 60 miles away. Anomalies in the Earth's curvature can also be found in old lighthouses, able to be seen for several miles past what is possible on the heliocentric model, and weapons guidance systems that are capable of sighting targets that would only be possible on a flat plane. We are accustomed to observing ships disappearing over the curve, but with modern consumer cameras, we can observe that this seems to be an optical illusion based on light reflection and the laws of perspective. Many of us tend to think the planet is too big to observe curvature, but the empirical evidence tells us that either the surface of the Earth is a flat plane or the planet is at least 100 times bigger than we are told.
Day after day, alone on a hill, the man with the foolish grin is keeping perfectly still. Nobody wants to know him, they can see that he's just a fool, and he never gives an answer. But the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning around. Well on the way, hid in a cloud, the land of 1,000 voices talking perfectly loud, but nobody ever hears him or the sound he appears to make, and he never seems to notice. But the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning around. Nobody seems to like him, they can tell what he wants to do, and he never shows his feelings. But the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning around and around, spinning around, and he never listens to them. He knows that they're the fools, and they don't like him. But the fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head see the world spinning around.
Whilst
in
Mark
space.
Cameron. This is from Mark Cameron.
Whilst in space, have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, all
because
the
you
time.
can see. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can see the stars.
Oh yeah,
You know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
Yeah. It's not a
which is
black
cool thing.
void. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of little polka dots.
There's all the stars there, and the cool thing is about it, you can see it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets. You
Right.
can see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds of the
Yeah,
Milky
you
Way
see
galaxy.
the Magellanic Clouds.
Magellanic. See, I just wanted the Magellan
there's a large
clouds.
one
I didn't
and a
want to
small one, right?
Yeah.
And then you can see the zodiacal light.
Whoa.
I mean, we're going to watch that again right away because that's real. That's an actual conversation between Don Pettit and another astronaut. They sound, if I were to guess, their IQ is 70 and they're not even trying. Let's watch it again.
So we go to NASA again, nasa.gov, December 1978. Investigation of aircraft landing in variable wind fields. Equations of motion. This comes up a lot. The two-dimensional model for aircraft motion presented in this section follows the general form developed by Frost. It accounts for both vertical and horizontal mean wind components having both time and spatial variations. The aircraft trajectory model employed in this study was derived based on the following assumptions. Number one, the Earth is flat and not rotating. That's the number one assumption? So we're going to see this over and over and over again regarding the equations of motion. They're always using it on a flat, non-rotating Earth model. Which doesn't make sense if you're developing aircraft and missiles and things like that to go over a rotating ball. Why would you start off with the assumption of a non-rotating flat Earth if the real-world application is over a spinning ball? 1987 NASA technical paper, 2768, User's Manual for Linear, a Fortran program to derive linear aircraft models. Get that in Acrobat here, same document. And we'll scroll down to, I believe it was page 12 again. Program overview. Within the program, the nonlinear equations of motion include 12 states representing a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. More diagrams, more equations. The nonlinear equations of motion used in the linearization program are general 6 degree of freedom equations representing the flight dynamics of a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Let's continue. That was 1987. NASA.gov, May 1988. Flight testing. Flight testing a V-STOL aircraft to identify a full envelope aerodynamic model. June 27, 1988. Day after my birthday. Page 4 of their document. For aircraft problems, the state of measurement models together represent the kinematics of a rigid body for describing motion over a flat, non-rotating Earth. All right. NASA.gov, December 1991. Aircraft model for the AIAA Controls Design Challenge. On page 11. Once again, you have the equations of motion and atmospheric model. The nonlinear equations of motion used in this model are general 6 degree of freedom equations representing the flight dynamics of a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. You guys start to see a pattern here? NASA.gov, June 1997. Talking about the SR-71. Predicted performance of a thrust-enhanced SR-71 aircraft with an external payload. One of my favorite aircraft of all time. That's just a cool looking airplane, huh? Let's see what they have to say about a back-mounted hypersonic research vehicle sitting on top of the SR-71. That's pretty crazy. Pretty cool interior shot right here. And on page 8, digital performance simulation description. The digital performance simulation equations of motion use 4 assumptions that simplify the program while maintaining its fidelity for most maneuvers and applications. Number 1, point mass modeling. 2, non-turbulent atmosphere. 3, zero side forces. And 4, a non-rotating Earth. Now they don't specify flat here, but they're saying the Earth's not rotating as part of their 4 assumptions that simplify the program while maintaining its fidelity. So they're discrediting the rotating Earth right here, at least by that statement it would appear. Moving right along, we come to another NASA document. I wasn't able to figure out what year this was from, but it's definitely a NASA document here. I'm guessing sometime around 1997, or sometime shortly thereafter, as the footnotes indicate anyway. There are footnotes that go to 1997. They don't go any later than that. Singular arc optimal control. Our minimum time to climb problem. In our minimum time to climb problem, the aircraft is modeled as a point mass and the flight trajectory is strictly confined in a vertical plane on a non-rotating flat Earth. And we'll just fast forward to the end here. See, that's the dates there. The latest one is 1997, so that's where I came to that conclusion. 2000, Army Research Laboratory. This is arl.army.mil document here. Path loss measurements in a forested environment at VHF. Let's check that one out. Under data analysis on page 10 of their document here, multipath data. In this section we discuss the data for the measurements described in section 2.2 figure 9 plots the transmission loss as a function of transmit antenna height for 145, 223, 300, 435 and 910 megahertz respectively. The receive antenna height was 2.7 meters and the range was 410 meters for all frequencies except 435 megahertz, where the receive height was 3.6 meters and the range was 200 meters. The expected transmission loss in decibels over a flat Earth is given by the following equation. We get down to page 14 here. HH propagation through the woods. In taking the HH polarization propagation data through woods both in winter and summer, we observed local fluctuations up to 20 decibels. We avoided these large dips in receive power by minor repositioning of the receive antenna. It is important to note, however, that the multipath from the local trees and brush can cause such variations. After the data were inspected, it became apparent that they tended to agree with the theory given by equation 2 plus some fixed attenuation, and therefore allowed us to develop an analytical expression based on flat Earth theory. I'll read that again. Therefore allowed us to develop an analytical expression based on flat Earth theory. So everybody who wants to label us flat earthers crazy must have to lump in the Army Research Laboratory as part of the Looney Tune bin. Let's see what else they have to say. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over the flat Earth. What? Army Research Laboratory, arl.army.mil, by Joseph R. Melita, February 2001. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth. You guys seeing that? Check it out. There it is again. In the table of contents, figures 6 and 7, comparison of principal fields from an ideal dipole oriented perpendicular and horizontal to a homogeneous flat Earth. Figure 7, comparison of principal fields from an ideal dipole oriented perpendicular and horizontal to a homogeneous flat Earth. There are the two figures, figure 6, figure 7, over flat Earth. Army Research Laboratory. Back to NASA, nasa.gov, June 2002. Stability and control estimation flight test results for the SR-71 aircraft with externally mounted experiments. So we're back to checking out some things on the SR-71. And we get to page 9, methods of analysis, parameter identification formula. Go through some formulas right here. And it says equations of motion. We come back to that once again. These equations assume a rigid vehicle and a flat, non-rotating Earth. For the SR-71 with external hardware attached. Back to the Army Research Laboratory, August 2002. Automatic target acquisition of the Demo 3 program. Demo 3 program, Army Research Laboratory. The detection algorithm. The algorithm described in this report was designed to address a need for a detection algorithm with wide applicability, which would serve as a pre-screener/detector for a number of applications. While most automatic target detection/recognition algorithms use much problem-specific knowledge to improve performance, the result is an algorithm that is tailored to specific target types and poses. The approximate range to target is often required, with varying amounts of tolerance. For example, in some scenarios, it is assumed that the range is known to within a meter from a laser range finder or a digital map. In other scenarios, only the range to the center of the field of view and the depression angle is known, so that a flat Earth approximation provides the best estimate. Alrighty then. January 2003, back to the Army Research Laboratory. See, up arl.army.mil. January 2003. Scrolling down to the report document page, talking about the scanning fast field program and I guess the various models. The geometry profile is required because of the angular dependence of the sound speed on the wind direction relative to the direction of propagation. This model works over a flat Earth and non-turbulent atmosphere. Wonder how it works in a turbulent atmosphere over a spinning ball. Okay, September 2009, Army Research Laboratory. Computationally efficient algorithms for estimating the angle of arrival of helicopters using acoustic arrays. And on page 22, the estimated phases of the reflection coefficients have a dependency on range. This may be caused by a violation of the assumption of the flat Earth model. So you're having some discrepancies when you violate the assumption of a flat Earth model? And let's see, one last one. From the Army Research Laboratory, March 2010. Projectile field dynamics, page 1. The 6-DOF rigid projectile model is employed to predict the dynamics of a projectile in flight. These equations assume a flat Earth. Why would you project flight dynamics over an assumed flat Earth if in reality we are dealing with a spinning ball? It seems to me that the Army Research Laboratory and NASA and the Russians and the CIA have been talking about flat Earth long before any of us showed up. Kind of makes you wonder, what do they know?
There ain't no photographs or us, somebody tell me why. They're all just Photoshop cartoons, they're all just CGI. All y'all watching is a puppet show, yeah, the whole world's a stage. Astronauts, they're actors, of course, and yeah, they all get paid. satellite hoax. Just another one of them NASA jokes. You get them ID, a picture of a satellite without bringing up a bunch of that CDR. There's no such thing as outer space. We made it all up, yeah, space is fake. It's the greatest lie that's ever been told. The biggest trick you've ever been sold. Women don't believe in gravity. Don't believe in fantasy. Do you still believe we went to the moon? Do you still believe what they're telling you? Just connect the dots and pretty soon you'll find out what I found out too. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth. Prepare to be amazed. Oh, NASA's faking everything that you have ever seen. NASA flying to the moon where they've never been. Indeed, my friend, their lion scum is there for you to see. Just take some time, look into it, and the truth will set you free. Yeah, NASA's pretty evil, man.
Don't let them take your mind.
Don't let them take your mind, man.
The reading caboose has arrived. I'm Conductor Clark.
And I'm Ms. Janice. Hey, who wants to learn about the letter H?
I do!
Now what can we do with the letter H?
We can hula hoop.
Or?
Create a massive global hoax.
What Ernie's referring to is the Apollo 11 moon landing that supposedly took place on July 20th, 1969.
To quote Neil Armstrong, this is one small step for man.
And one giant lie to mankind. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi, Ticket Taker Sam. Sam's been riding the rails ever since mean old Microsoft stole his formula for Windows 95.
Hey, Sam, I hear you've got a story for the kids.
I sure do, Miss Janice, and it's a real whiz-banger. Once upon a time, there was a president named Kennedy.
I promised to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade.
Mr. President, didn't you also promise civil rights?
That's another story, Trevor. Now excuse me while I go sleep with Judith Exner.
Meanwhile, poor inept NASA couldn't get a rocket into space. Pew!
So they turned to Plan B.
I'm LBJ. The end of the decade is here, and there's still no Americans on the moon. Those Ruskies are gonna beat us to it.
I'll help you, Mr. President.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Stanley Kubrick, and I'll use some tricks I learned while filming the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, to fake a moon landing.
And we're the mafia, and we'll fund your scam to build a secret soundstage in Las Vegas.
Good. While people think they're in space, we'll keep the astronauts busy with whores and gambling. Then we'll pay them off, or brainwash them, or kill them.
The end.
Yay!
Squawk? But is there any real proof it was a hoax? Squawk!
Is this proof enough, Gully Bird?
Wow!
I used to fly to the moon all the time.
Hobo Dan! Hey, Hobo Dan, how did you fly to the moon?
With the only real astronaut, Dr. Timothy Leary.
Oh, Hobo Dan.
Hey, that reminds me of a song.
This old moon rocket ain't what it appears to be.
Ain't what it appears to be. Ain't what it appears to be.
This old moon rocket ain't what it appears to be because it was baked in a kiln in Japan.
Yay! Thanks, Hobo Dan. That was fun-credible. And the truth.
Minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1.
They never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never. Put your hand on that Bible to the truth. Y'all ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never. Put your hand on that Bible to the truth. Y'all ain't never went. They had us fool for a minute, but we walk now. They getting hot under the collar, cause the truth's out. Try to take Genesis and cover it under the rock, but you can't hide what the master Reddit knows about. This population is programmed, spoon-fed news for food. They wanna go to Mars, but they ain't never touched the moon. The proof is in the pudding, I don't need to see no rocks. For the judgment of your character, you like to punch a lot. Your body language suspect, like you wanna get out of here. Cause the truth is, you ain't never left up out of here. We firm in this firmament, you already heard of it. The moon is a luminary, so you can't land on it. Play the tape.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
Y'all never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never. Put your hand on that Bible to the truth. Y'all ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never. Put your hand on that Bible to the truth. Y'all ain't never went. This deception is impressive. We not dealing with the man. This was designed by fallen angels who fabricated the plan. This ain't conspiracy theories. This conspiracy facts. If you can't go to the moon, that means this earth we own is flat. But what kind of song is that? They think my mind off track. This is the most clear than I ever been, cause the truth is the new black. If we went to the moon in 69, why we never went back? That's because we ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never. Put your hand on that Bible to the truth. Y'all ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never went, never went. Nah, they ain't never. Put your hand on that Bible to the truth. Y'all ain't never went.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Earth orbit, that's the farthest that we can go. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually. The moon, Mars, the moon.
And to prove its potential, they began flying it around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific. Remember, it has no fuel. It then was on to the United States, hopscotched across America, powered only by the sun. And now it has crossed its last ocean, the Atlantic. Not much further to go. Around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world, around the world. To prove its potential, they began flying it around the world.
has shown up. Prepare to be amazed. Please welcome your host for this evening, Mr. Flat Earth Man.
Thank you. Listen up. The whole world's a stage and you're in the audience, and everything you see on the stage is fraudulent. Nothing you see before you is fact. Are you ready for your headline act? This act is truly one of a kind. They'll dazzle you and play tricks on your mind. An illusionist with billions of fans. Please welcome NASA. Put together your hands. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's so lovely to see you again. Tonight we have a very special show. There's a few things we want you to know. Tonight we reveal some of our techniques. We'll expose NASA like WikiLeaks. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'll show you how we fool the world. And when we're done exposing our lies, none of you are gonna realize, even though we're gonna tell you straight, it'll be too hard for you to contemplate. Trick so huge you won't believe, impossible for you to conceive. That's why we tell it, cause you'll reject it. A lie so big you can't accept it. No, you can't. There's no such thing as outer space. We made it all up, yeah, space is fake. It's the greatest lie that's ever been told. The biggest trick you've ever been sold. We've been pushing this satanic lie. Space is a drug and everybody high. That's been a space. Ladies and gentlemen, space is fake.
We can't believe you fell for it, man. If you tell a lie big enough and frequently enough, it'll be believed.
See, there's a solid barrier we can't get through. It's called the firmament between me and you. Go check Word of Braun's headstone. He knew about that firmament, dope. He left you all a little nodding away. For those of you still able to think, Psalm 19:1, chapter and verse, the firmament shows his handiwork. That's why when our rockets leave the earth, they form a parabolic curve. We'll then switch over to an animation, then it's over to your imagination. But I'm here to tell you that in reality, our rockets end up in a graveyard in the sea. Our launch pads are on coastal regions. We put them there for a very good reason.
Outer space, we made it all up, yeah, space is fake. It's the greatest lie that's ever been told. The biggest trick you've ever been sold. We've been pushing this satanic lie. Space is a drug and everybody high. It's only your imagination that's been a space. Ladies and gentlemen, space is fake. We'll know our disinformation campaign is complete when everything the American public believes is false.
Yeah, rocket launches are occult rituals. They're there to brainwash these individuals, to make you think that space is real and your money and your mind we can steal. It's so easy to program your mind, cause you guys watch TV like all the time. And we control what you see on your TV, cause we're a branch of the military. Yeah, we teamed up with those Disney guys. They help us propagate our lies. We make cartoons about space fantasies and put them on TV for all the kids to see. We program you when you're really young. We make space travel so much fun. Then all the kids fall into our trap and all grow up believing our crap.
They're called programs, man.
There's no such thing as outer space. We made it all up, yeah, space is fake. It's the greatest lie that's ever been told. The biggest trick you've ever been sold. We've been pushing this satanic lie. Space is a drug and everybody high. It's only your imagination that's been a space. Ladies and gentlemen, space is fake.
And now it's over to our friends at Fake X for a short message.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Thanks, Elon. What a genius.
Yeah, we go to Devon Island without robot cars, and we convince you we got a rover on Mars. And what about the incredible ISS? Is all of that fake? Hell yes. Haven't you seen our harness mistakes? How many screw-ups is it gonna take? Haven't you noticed the bubbles in space? We film astronauts in pools, for God's sake. mission is to brainwash you. You make it so easy for us to do because nobody questions the authenticity. Making you believe space is so easy. Yeah, we love to convince you in infinite space. We love to put you in an insignificant place. Hiding the creator is what we do. Beating the divinity right out of you. We don't want you to realize how special you are. We want you to think you came from a cosmic spark. We're secretly converting you to our religion, Satanism, scientism, atheism. Won't you join us? There's no such thing as outer space. We made it all up. Yeah, space is fake. It's the greatest lie that's ever been told. The biggest trick you've ever been sold. We've been pushing this satanic lie. Space is a drug and everybody high. It's only your imagination that's been a space. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time. There's no such thing as outer space. We made it all up. Yeah, space is fake. It's the greatest lie that's ever been told. The biggest trick you've ever been sold. We've been pushing this satanic lie. Space is a drug and everybody high. It's only your imagination that's been a space.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for coming. What a lovely audience. Make sure you research some of the things you've seen tonight. But I know you won't. You'll just go home, watch the news, and believe it all. Look what NASA did this week, son. Wow, that's so amazing, Dad. You idiots. Research bubbles in space. Research NASA lives. Research space in space. For God's sake. Good night, everybody.
I was just in my backyard today, and I thought I'd share this with you. I had a thought. How come I could find no mentions of the term gravity in the Bible? Genesis 1 mentions the word firmament 7 times. Most of the doctrines, or all of the doctrines in the Bible, are found in Genesis. They have their origination there. But you know what? I can't find even a descriptor of gravity, Newtonian or Einstein. And I can find hundreds of verses about a flat, stationary Earth, fixed, immovable, with a beautiful firmament dome above us. Not a mention of the one most fundamental element to the heliocentric Copernican model. The one thing that holds everything together, not in the Bible. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Okay. All right, so we're further into the Reason Rally now, and I met Matthew. Matthew's from New York, and he is the co-president,
the vice president of the Atheist and Agnostic Society of Cornell.
At Cornell, okay. So you came all the way down for the Reason Rally?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have family around here, but yeah, so it's kind of a dual.
The mental states are...
I mean, it becomes a little bit complicated. You can talk about brain states as causing mental states, and that might make some sense. I personally think that it's a little bit odd.
But what I'm hearing you, though, is I guess what I'm getting at is this, is that we have as foundations here, we're stardust, we're apes, we're cosmically, broccoli, your brain is fizzing, right? And why should anybody say, we need to fight for this kind of brain fizz? Versus over here, a person is fizzing this way. Why is one brain fizz more than...
Well, that's why I brought up the, in terms of resolving disputes, that's one question. In terms of why within one framework I would believe anything at all, again, I think that it's a result of a combination of evolved social instincts.
So it's just random.
It's not random.
It could have evolved the other
Evolution
way.
isn't random.
It could have evolved the other way.
It could have evolved in a different way, and it does evolve in a different way in other social species.
So evolution could have brought us to irrationality as the norm.
We were talking about morality, not rationality.
I'm talking about the information and the fizz going on in your brain. So over here we have, if I use your foundations, if I take atheism, say Dawkins, naturalistic materialism, and I look out across right now, I see a bunch of bags of biological stuff that are fizzing chemically thoughts that say, reason, And they say we should all hold to the same kind of reasoning and everything else going on over here. But that's the foundations.
Yes.
As a Christian, I look at over here, I say this is not just stardust, or not just bags of stuff. They're made in the Imago Dei. Everyone here has value and dignity, including you. We should fight for universal laws and changing and variant laws of logic, because this world is not just matter and motion. There are immaterial aspects to our being.
Well, I mean, the things that you're saying seem to represent a hunger for an absolute foundation on which to base reason
What
and
I'm saying
rationality.
is that you don't have any philosophical justification for either science, logic, or
you
morality.
don't have any kind of an absolute basis. That's correct.
You don't.
I mean,
Right.
well, you believe you do, but you're wrong.
Well, no. I actually can demonstrate to you, even by your own reasoning right now, that the God that you and I both know exists, because you're reasoning according to the Christian worldview. You're acting as though their nature is uniform, but you can't justify that given your atheism.
No, but I take uncertainty as being a basic epistemological position. So only uncertainty. So only if I wanted to claim that I was capable of having certain assertions would I need to.
So you can have no certainty.
That's correct.
Are you certain about that?
That's an interesting point.
Did I hear you earlier say that it's objectively true that there's no objective truth? Didn't you say that earlier?
Yes.
Okay, so
You
that
see
totally contradicts what you just said.
There are two statements.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely certain. I can have no certainty.
No, I didn't say I was absolutely certain.
Well, you said I'm certain.
No. So so you can have certainty when you have, in terms of a self-contained logical system. So do you know the distinction between analytic and synthetic propositions?
But you told me that laws of logic are just results of chemicals going on in our brain.
That's an interesting question. So, for example, mathematics it's an interesting philosophical question of why mathematics works so well and why you believe you know why it does.
Well, an interesting thing though, Matthew, is that you're living right now standing on a Christian view of reality and how you're living, but you're denying it with your atheism. You're fighting for things like uniformity in nature, laws of logic, and morality, but you have no justification given your atheism.
Well, I mean, Christian intellectual theology was developed on a basis of Platonic and Aristotelian Roman philosophy. So,
that's an authoritarian claim. It's not rooted.
Well, I
in
mean,
history.
in terms of my basic epistemological and ontological positions, I am.
What are you, rationalist?
I am more.
Empiricist?
I am a scientific realist. I believe that synthetic assertions about the universe are always open to revision through further evidence.
So laws of logic aren't necessarily universal.
Laws of logic are analytical, so they're self-contained.
Are they universal?
Laws of logic are a self-contained system of propositions.
Should I be listening to you right now looking for inconsistencies, or no? Because you and I don't share the same brain. So how are this appeal you're making to these universal laws of logic? How does that leap from your brain to mine? We don't share the same brain. How is that a universal truth?
Well, we actually have very similar brains,
but we don't share the same brain.
Yeah.
You're fizzing atheistic thoughts right now. I'm fizzing Christian theistic thoughts. But you're trying to appeal to universal laws of logic. But given atheism, all you are is matter and motion.
I don't understand what the point.
Where's the universal law of logic? Can I touch it?
Well, that's an interesting question. The thing is that there's no reason to believe that, unusually intelligent apes that evolved on one planet in the universe should have the hardware to be able to solve, the basic questions of the universe. So trying to appeal to me as a scientific rationalist to try to answer all of the basic and deep philosophical questions about the universe
you're living,
is not realistic.
Well, Matthew, the thing is, though, is you're living as though these laws of logic are universal and unchanging and necessary. But you have no justification for your appeal to them.
No
now,
ultimate
as a Christian,
justification, yes.
Right, so you're fighting for logic, which you can't justify.
That's
as a Christian, I have a basis for logic and science and morality.
Yeah, it's
so you're
fallacious one.
Well, again, you don't have a problem with fallacious things in your worldview.
No, I don't believe that.
I can't justify universals.
I don't think that you can have any ultimate justification for anything.
So you can't call what I said just fallacious.
Within the framework that I'm operating on, I am calling it fallacious. I am not saying that it has any kind of necessary
Are
ultimate
fallacious
reality.
things allowed in your worldview or not allowed?
They are just fallacious.
Are they allowed or not allowed?
So if I make the assertion that an argument is correct,
right.
the word correct
Right.
has meaning within a self-contained logical system.
Right,
And so within that system, by definition, a fallacious argument is not correct. But that's part of what the meaning of the word correct
The logical
is.
system that you're referring to, Matthew, does that exist only in your mind, or is that universal?
I think that's related to the question of why things like mathematics work. And I
in
don't
your
know.
world,
I'm not a philosopher.
You don't know, but you live as though they are important.
Yes.
Do you do math as you do know?
Yes.
Do you do logic as if you do know?
So that's an interesting question. No, I don't think so. I mean, basically, I think that you can have operating assumptions that you can then work under without making without making a strong claim for their absolute necessary foundation.
That statement right now that you just made, did that have a necessary foundation, or was it just random? What I'm saying
it certainly didn't have a necessary foundation. I could have died 10 minutes ago.
Well, I mean that. I don't see that you have any justification for the laws of logic or opinion.
You don't have ultimate justification.
There you go.
No.
So don't use them.
Well, no, I reject the idea that you have to have ultimate justification to do it.
So you would have to live in the world with no justification.
No ultimate justification.
Ultimate justification for logic, no ultimate justification for uniformity in nature, no ultimate justification for morality.
So the difference, though, then, is that I am saying that we all have to live in that world, and that you are just basically telling yourself a story that allows yourself to believe that you do have an ultimate
Matthew,
justification
I do.
when
Matthew,
you
here's
don't.
the difference between you and I. You mentioned a moment ago you don't have certainty. Christians can have certainty about things that God has revealed. We have what's called a revelational epistemology.
Right.
And so we can know things for certain because God ultimately enters into world history and he tells us. Right. But in your worldview, you're reduced to absurdity in your reasoning and your science.
Within your worldview, you are asserting that ultimate foundations are possible and necessary and desirable.
And you're living like they are, but you reject your Creator's existence.
No, I'm not living like they are because I am accept that I can operate under operational hypotheses
by
that
faith.
are not certain.
You live by faith.
It's not faith because I don't claim to be certain about it. I would have to be certain to have faith.
Matthew, do you know that tomorrow is going to be like today, and with nature being uniform?
No, that's Hume, and I don't. There's no inferential basis for inference.
So, do you have an answer for Hume's problem?
No, there's no answer for Hume.
I have an answer.
Well, yeah, and I mean, lots of people have tried to answer.
Do you know why? Do you know how a Christian would answer the uniformity in nature problem?
It's uniform because God makes it that way.
Because God has revealed himself and he carries the universe along to its destination. That's why science is all built upon a creationist view of reality.
Yeah, and I just think that any particular person who claims to have had access to revelation is probably deluded or lying.
Well, that's a claim, but it's okay to be deluded and lying in your worldview. We're stardust.
The word okay is a moral claim. I'm just saying that it's probably wrong.
Probably wrong, but could be right.
Absolutely.
Okay,
right.
so there's no certainty.
Nope.
Absurdities are allowed.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, you said it could be either way.
Yes.
So absurdities could be allowed.
I don't know what you mean by that.
It could be okay to just be absurd and live absurdly.
Well, I'm not going to stop you.
Right. I'm asking Matthew.
Yeah.
Is that an intelligent way to live?
That's value judgment, and I already said within my value system, I do think that having as accurate views as possible is important.
Okay, well, I'll ask you one more question, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
The uniformity in nature, it's necessary to do science. It's necessary to do all that we just did.
It's desirable if you desire to have accurate.
Well, we can't do science if we don't have a rationally intelligible universe.
You can do science. You can have an operating assumption that the universe is uniform,
right.
And the fact that it has worked so well so far is certainly evidence to believe that it is.
Right.
I mean, it could be that 100 light years from now, you're right,
Yeah.
and that it does not provide, and that's why it doesn't provide an absolute foundation because there's no answer to Hume. That's right.
I have an answer to Hume.
And it's just a silly one.
No, that's my answer. And the interesting thing is that you're living in the same world I am, appealing to the uniformity, but you have only blind faith.
Except that it's not faith because I'm not certain.
Was it confidence? Would you say it's confidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I say I have a I think that I have a rational justification for believing in uniformity because, as I said, science works quite well.
Right. That's what Bertrand Russell would say to that. You're begging the question because you're using the past uniformity in nature to justify the future.
Well, that's not Bertrand Russell. That's Hume.
No, Bertrand Russell in Problems in Philosophy, he said exactly that.
Yeah, but that is what Hume's argument
right,
is.
Right, but Bertrand Russell would say to what you're saying, he answered you. He said the person that appeals to past uniformity to justify the future is arguing viciously.
No, that's right. And so, but what that means is that you can't be certain. No, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a justification.
He was asking for a justification, and he said you can't give it.
Well, but at that time in philosophy, I mean, what they were arguing about was this idea of whether or not you could create this ultimate foundation on which to base reality. Because well, only if you're operating. I think that this is basically a hangover from a religious worldview.
Well,
I mean, it's part of our.
Right now, you're standing here.
Yeah.
Right? Did you eat food today?
Yeah.
Did you drink water today? Brush your teeth today?
Yeah.
Yes? You breathing air today? So you're living, assuming the uniformity in nature every moment of your life. This entire conversation has assumed it.
Yes.
And you haven't thought you're just going to float away to the sky, have you?
No.
So how come you never thought that?
Well, because our brains evolved in an environment where gravity existed.
I'm asking you for the justification for gravity holding you down now like it did yesterday.
Well, what there is not, and Hume showed this, is any kind of an ultimate justification where you can be certain.
I've already given you the biblical answers.
Well, right, and there's all kinds of non-biblical answers to it, and I don't think any of them make sense.
The interesting thing is your atheism has left you with no justification for the preconditions of intelligibility for uniformity.
No ultimate justification.
Right.
No ultimate justification.
There you go. Thanks, man.
That's right. Okay. Nice to meet you.
The Lord really showed me something I haven't seen before. So let's read this. Okay. So Psalm 65, 4 through 7. That's what it says. Blessed is the man whom thou choosest and causest to approach unto thee, that he may dwell in thy courts. We shall be satisfied with the goodness of thy house, even of thy holy temple. By terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation, semicolon, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth. So this is the context, the ends of the earth, comma, and of them that are afar off upon the sea. So look, he's saying, the ends of the earth, those who are far off upon the sea. He's talking about a specific place. The ends of the earth, those that are far off upon the sea, which by his strength setteth fast the mountains, and being girded with power, which stilleth the noise of the seas, and the noise of their waves. Oh my. Just remember all that. The ends of the earth, where he set the mountains, where he stilled the noise of the sea and the waves. Let me show you something here. There it is, what? Antarctica is the highest continent on the earth. Said that already, just so you see, these are different places. Even Google admits it. Antarctica is the highest continent on the earth. Do you see that? What do you see when you look at Antarctica from the water? You see, exactly, you see two things. You see mountains. You see the store or treasury of snow and ice. And no waves. Oh, I'm going to show you. These are different locations. Look, you can even, could you do this in Hawaii in a kayak? And would you want to when the water is probably negative 30 degrees or some crazy cold, or whatever, 32 degrees? Now look, it's not even rocking the kayak. Mountains and still water. O God of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and them that are afar off upon the sea, which by his strength setteth fast the mountains. The mountain range there goes for thousands of miles. Y'all see that? Mountains. Highest place. Stilling the noise of the waves. Here it is. Listen, in the Bible, in the New Testament, when it talks about the uttermost part of the earth, or the end of the earth, the word here is akron. Guess what it means? The extremity, the end, the tip, the top, the uttermost, or also the highest. So it's not only the extremity or the end, but it's also the highest place. It's the New Testament. Ends of the earth, uttermost parts of the earth. How can you have that on a ball? Here we go, Thayer's lexicon. Highest extreme, topmost point, the extremity. Now I want to show you, here's regular waves. And I could pull this up. Look, I've been going to the Gulf of Mexico my entire life. I've been to the Atlantic coast. I live in California, so I've been to the Pacific. I've been in the Indian Ocean. This is what a normal shore looks like. I want you to hear the noise, though. I picked the Oregon coastline because it's similar to the mountains in Antarctica. The ends of the earth can't just be any coastline, because all the coastlines we know of look like this. There are waves, and they are loud, and they are continuous.
Another very intriguing argument for flat earthers is Antarctica, the mysterious massive continent at our southern pole that nobody is allowed to explore. After sailing over 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, Captain Cook was never able to complete the journey around the ice continent, which is supposed to be just under 12,000 miles around. Neither was James Clark Ross or the British ship Challenger. Nobody has ever successfully circumnavigated Antarctica. Many so-called flat earthers claim that these attempts failed because Antarctica is actually a massive ice barrier that surrounds the flat surface of the Earth. The azimuthal equidistant projection map, produced by the U.S. Geological Survey, has been used for centuries for the fact that all directions or azimuths are correct and all distances are at true scale. Studying this map, one can clearly see how man has been able to accurately circumnavigate the Earth on a flat plane model. And if it is in fact accurate, then it explains why after 60,000 miles, nobody has been able to completely circumnavigate Antarctica. Interestingly, this is also the map used by the United Nations. Admiral Richard Byrd, Medal of Honor winner, youngest admiral in the history of the Navy, and recipient of 3 ticker tape parades in his honor, led 4 expeditions to Antarctica. The 4th being a military operation known as Operation High Jump, with an aircraft carrier group, 4,700 men, 13 support ships, and 33 aircraft. Their stated mission was to establish the Antarctic Research Base Little America 4, but many believe the true nature of the secret mission was to root out the Nazis who arrived in 1939, claiming New Schwabia and setting up a Nazi presence in Antarctica. In 1954, Admiral Richard Byrd spoke on TV of an area bigger than the United States with valuable resources and announced a future of international exploration.
Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
Strangely enough, there is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. We've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains that's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
But this never happened. In 1957, Admiral Byrd died in his sleep of a heart ailment at the age of 68. And on December 1st, 1959, all 12 countries active in Antarctica signed a United Nations treaty that outlawed all public travel south of the 60th southern parallel. This was the same time that NASA was formed. The world's attention was pulled away from exploring Antarctica and directed firmly on the moon. In 1962, a series of high-altitude nuclear tests was carried out by the United States. It was called Operation Fishbowl, which has caught the curiosity of many flat Earth researchers because the flat Earth model shared by the ancients was one where we lived within a sphere, upon a flat surface, and surrounded by a massive dome, like a fishbowl, or The Truman Show. In 2012, the secret lost diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd was published, wherein Admiral Byrd allegedly claimed to enter a hollow Earth through a hole in the center of Antarctica and meet with an advanced alien civilization. The diary provides no evidence of being authentic, and many would suggest that it portrays the distinguished admiral as a crackpot and strange tales of Antarctica as fantasy. To this day, the public is strictly prohibited from traveling below the 60th southern parallel. Nobody has ever completely circumnavigated Antarctica, and airplanes are prohibited from flying over the icy continent. What are they hiding? There is now talk of investing trillions of dollars to explore Mars. Why not Antarctica? If sharing videos about flat Earth is harmful, why not put it all to rest by circumnavigating Antarctica, documenting everything, and prove that the Earth is a spinning globe?
In a tavern in Plymouth, our adventure awaits. To my wife I bid farewell as she waits from our gate. With a voyage at sea, destiny I have date. For 8 pieces of silver I boarded my fate. With 2 years of provisions, from sauerkraut to nails, 9-ton hogsheads of rum and cask them full of ale. We made ship-shape the rigging from crow's nest to keel, and with a weather eye open, Captain Cook set sail. Hang on to the winds and head out to sea. Beyond the horizon, the ends of the earth beckon we. In 3 years of discovering new lands for the crown, 200,000 leagues of boat tape sailed around. On a mission for the mythical southern continent. and I say that beneath us graves the wave goes drown sunken men. Will our fate be to sink here or return home to see you again? In the fog and much darkness of a black midnight sun, our two ships separated, though we fight sounded guns. Time and tide wait for no man, to the end we have come, but come hell or high water, journey home's just begun. So turn the bow hard starboard, put our stern to this hell, we've mapped the treasures of bayou, discovered tales we must tell. So never were seen again, lost all aboard they were fell. We come the white cliffs of Dover, land home we should yell. Hang on to the winds and cut through the sea. Beyond all horizons, the ends of the earth we have seen. Hang on for your lives, you're living your dreams. The final place can't be found, need be lost now, should know where it be. Blooming monoliths of Easter Island, nearly lost our lives, attacked by savages with rocks thrown in battle cries. On the Great Barrier Reef wrecked and almost capsized. But nothing compares to the endless sheer ice cliffs through no end, those transparent blue frozen walls. Only we can know farther than never reached before, far as any man can go. We return from the end of the earth. To find hell frozen over there and back, we lost many good men. From the ends of the earth I'd return to hold you again.
Now, me and Faith would have fun out in that, wouldn't we, baby? We'd have fun in that. Everybody get what I'm saying here? I had video of the California coast, the Florida coast. I said I can't play all these videos. All right, let's move on from this. Now let's read this again. O God of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, them that are far off upon the sea, who stills the noise of the sea and the noise of the waves. Watch this. Antarctica coastline. Now let me show you something. This is the Antarctica coastline. Do you know that you only get reflections in water that's perfectly still? You can see the mountains like a mirror. That's a cruise ship. I told my wife that's where I want to go. I don't care if they won't let me on the snow and ice. Just get there to see it, to observe it. It's beautiful. Look at that. See, that looks like lake water early in the morning when we were teenagers and going out to the lake to ski. You're like, oh yeah, we're ready to ski. Look at there. Let's keep going. Now listen to this guy, all right? I'm going to play this video. It's a few minutes, but I want you to watch and pay close attention because this is footage taken from multiple videos, different National Geographic, libtard places, environmental freaks telling us we're melting the snow and they know it's volcanoes. All right, here we go.
We're at the same level as everything. You know, out here, if the generator on the ship breaks down, if the ship sinks, you know, we're out of the game. And you can't bring up mummy.
Now, out to sea, before you get there, it's rough. But once you get there,
we're on
it
the
stops.
edge of the planet.
We're on the edge. See, they're at sea trying to get there. That's normal ocean. That boat's not even rocking. He stills the noise of the sea and of the waves at the ends of the earth. Nothing's moving.
My most favorite times in the Antarctic is when you can remove all of the human sounds. And it's a silence that you can kind of feel. It seems kind of primitive. You hear ice crackling. You hear glaciers rumbling.
Do you see any waves there?
You hear a seal barking. When you can hear your heartbeat, you know that it's quiet.
Keep your eyes and ears open.
And they're out there tagging whales.
That's a minke whale.
Where he sets fast the mountains. He stills the noise of the waves. Look at that right there. I don't know about you. This makes me in awe of God's creation and His Word. Look at that. Look at the mirror image of those mountains in the water. The water's a different color. It's so blue. Look at that. Looks like a lake or a pond. Not even bumping up against that iceberg there. Nothing. Hey, you better not let that drone hit that iceberg. You'll go to jail. And you could do this for hours and hours and hours of footage. There's your vapor. Got a little wind there, but still no waves. No movement. But you see, we could do this for a while. Wow, look at that. The only wave there is that boat. See any waves? Nope. So, look at that.